I was halfway through my coffee when my daughter-in-law walked into my kitchen without knocking, coat still on, smile bright as a store display. "Great news," Melissa said, setting her phone on the counter like a gavel. "We're doing Christmas, new traditions, and you can relax this year." Relax. The word landed like a lid on a box I wasn't finished packing. "My house?" I asked. "No, no," she sang, "our place. Daniel and I will host. We've got it handled. No need to bring anything." Behind her, my son stood in the doorway, snow melting on his hair, eyes somewhere over my shoulder. "It'll be easier, Mom." "Easier for who?" I kept my voice even. "So I'm not cooking." "You've done enough," Melissa said. "We're simplifying. Minimalist, matching pajamas. And Tiny asked, could you not drop by that week? The kids need calm." That was the moment I knew I wasn't family anymore. It didn't crack like thunder. It slid under the baseboard like a draft. My name is Helen Porter, 68, 30 years in accounts receivable, still allergic to fuzzy numbers and fuzzy promises. For 30 Christmases, I roasted the bird, timed the sides, polished the yard sale silver. For 5 winters since my husband died, I kept the rituals: candles, red and gold linens, pie tins stacked like coins. Rituals measure that you still exist. "New traditions," Melissa said, sliding a gift bag across my table. Inside, plaid napkins, a chalkboard that read "Welcome Home," and battery tea lights. "We'll do cookie decorating at ours. The kids can FaceTime you if you get tired." If I get tired. I nodded because nodding is cheaper than crying. "Do you need my roasting pan?" "Oh." She brightened. "We ordered the meal prepped from the boutique market. No offense. Your recipes are sweet, but the photos matter." She showed strangers in perfect pajamas. "See? Cozy." Daniel cleared his throat. "Mom, it's just 1 year." 1 year is how habits begin. I folded a dish towel into quarters. "Understood," I said. "Let me know if you need the folding tables." Melissa's phone chimed. "Group chat is live. Rides, who's bringing what?" She paused, then looked up. "Oh, weird, you popped out. Glitch, I'll add you later." On my counter, the calendar lay open to December. I'd penciled "Tree with kids" on the 15th, a question mark shaped like hope. I pressed my finger to the mark until the paper dented. After they left, the house remembered how to be quiet. The heater kicked on. I took down the cracked green notebook that lives behind the pie tins. My ledger, not feelings, totals. Internet when Daniel was between contracts. $89.99 a month for 48 months. Daycare gap when Melissa's hours were in flux. $1,260. Dentist, emergency, $640 cash. Soccer fees, shoes, grocery top-ups you do with a smile and forget by dinner. The subtotal sat there, neat and red, $41,980. Numbers don't raise their voices. They sit there, cold and exact, and make you choose what the truth will cost. My phone buzzed, a new text, separate from the glitchy chat. "Minimal vibes this year, no strong perfumes or loud ornaments. If you drop anything, use the side door. The ring cam wakes the baby." I added a line to the ledger: "Unpaid Christmas labor, projected hours 60. Then I capped the pen and closed the book. The doorbell rang. Janice from 2 houses down stood there in a knit hat, holding a foil-covered plate. "Extra cinnamon rolls," she said. "Also, Melissa told the delivery guy your porch is staging only, and to leave packages behind the shrubs. You good?" "I am now," I said, taking the warm plate. Janice tipped her head toward the street. "If you need someone to say what we all see, you've got me." I set the rolls on the counter and smoothed the foil. "I might need more than seeing," I said. "I might need signatures." Melissa's words stayed lodged like a bone in my throat, but it was Daniel's silence that kept me awake that night. By morning, I had decided not to stay silent myself. I called their house. Melissa answered, cheerful but clipped. "Helen, hi, busy here, can you make it quick?" "Why was I dropped from the Christmas group chat?" I asked. A pause, then a laugh sharp as ice. "Oh, that. We thought it might overwhelm you. Too many messages. Don't worry, I'll keep you posted." "Melissa, I'm not fragile. I want to know what's happening with my family." Another pause. "Helen, you are family, but sometimes you complicate things." Her voice softened like she was explaining to a child. You ask questions. You insist on doing everything your way. The younger generation needs space. I swallowed. So after 30 years of running Christmas, I'm reduced to a complication. Her tone hardened. Don't be dramatic. It's one holiday Daniel and I have decided. That night I drove over. Daniel opened the door. Mom, it's not a good time, he said, but I pushed past, boxes of catered food stacked by the fridge, Melissa arranging labels like trophies. I pointed at them. You're replacing me with takeout. Melissa crossed her arms. We're modernizing. Not everyone wants turkey drowned in gravy. I felt my chest heat. That gravy fed you through grad school. Those leftovers kept your rent paid when Daniel's hours were cut. Daniel winced. Mom, please. No, Daniel, I snapped. You're letting her erase me. Melissa's eyes narrowed. Erase you? Helen, you insert yourself into everything. You hover, you comment, you guilt trip. I'm not trying to erase you. I'm trying to breathe in my own house. Her words stung because they weren't entirely lies. I had hovered, commented, guilt tripped. But always to hold us together. I took a breath. So your solution is exile? Daniel stepped between us, voice low. Mom, don't make this harder. I looked at him, the boy who once clung to my leg at Christmas Eve service, and saw only a man who couldn't meet my eyes. Melissa picked up her phone. Maybe this will help. She tapped and turned the screen toward me. A new group chat. Christmas crew. Photo of Melissa, her relatives, Daniel, the kids in matching pajamas. No me. See, she said, no hard feelings, just simpler. My throat burned. Simpler means pretending I don't exist? Daniel rubbed his temples. Mom, let it go. You still have New Year's with us. A consolation prize, like I was a neighbor, not his mother. Melissa leaned against the counter, satisfied. This year is ours. If you want to see the kids, we'll send photos. I felt the kitchen spin. For 5 years, I'd bent, adjusted, filled the gaps they left. And here I was, watching my son and his wife fold me out like an unwanted page. I turned to the door. My voice came out steadier than I felt. You've made your choice. Don't be surprised when I make mine. By the next week, I wasn't just out of the group chat. I was out of the picture entirely. My texts to Daniel hung unanswered, those little gray bubbles never turning blue. When I tried calling, I got the cold automated voice. This number is not accepting calls. Melissa had blocked me. It's strange how silence can be louder than shouting. Every morning I opened my phone hoping for a message from Daniel, and every morning there was nothing. But online, the noise was deafening. Melissa's Facebook lit up like a billboard. Photos of her and Daniel stringing lights, the kids in reindeer sweaters captioned, Our first Christmas running the show. So thankful for family that supports new traditions. 67 likes. Comments from her cousins. You two are the cutest. So glad you're creating your own magic. Not one mention of me. Not even a tag. I scrolled through the pictures. There was my grandson, decorating cookies at my dining table, except the caption said our cozy kitchen. They'd staged it in my house while I was working late at the church bazaar. I recognized the curtains, the chipped mug, the scratch on the table Daniel made with his toy truck in 1989. They'd cropped me out of my own life. When I asked about it, Melissa replied with a single text before the block landed. Don't make this harder. Everyone needs peace this season. Peace. To them, my presence was war. Even neighbors noticed. Janice came over with her dog one morning, cheeks flushed from the cold. I saw Melissa posting about a family-only Christmas, she said carefully. Half the neighborhood knows she meant you. Are you okay? I nodded, though my throat felt like broken glass. She's rewriting the guest list with me in invisible ink. By mid-December, word spread wider. At the grocery store, an old friend from choir said, I heard Daniel and Melissa are hosting this year. Good for them, giving you a break. A break, as if being erased was a vacation. What stung wasn't just the exile. It was the guilt trip woven into every message. Melissa's captions were soaked in implication. Sometimes love means letting go of the past. Traditions are beautiful, but they can't last forever. People applauded her like she was brave, progressive, kind. No one knew she'd cut out the woman who raised the very man she married. The group chat Christmas crew was a carousel of inside jokes I wasn't part of. How did I know? Screenshots. A cousin of Melissa's, tired of her bragging, forwarded them to Janice, who passed them to me. Lines of text scrolled across my screen. Good thing Helen isn't here. She'd ruin the vibe. She's so intense about food. No one cares about gravy that much. She always wants credit. Exhausting. Then Daniel's single contribution, a thumbs up. That one emoji shattered more than any paragraph could. My son, reducing 30 years of love, meals, and sacrifice to a digital nod against me. I sat at my kitchen table, ledger open, pen shaking in my hand. Every debt, every grocery run, every emergency bill I'd covered, it stared back at me. The total crept higher than I wanted to admit. $52,300. I had paid silently for their comfort. And now they were auctioning my reputation in a chat room. The isolation dug deeper than holidays. The kids stopped calling. When I dropped off gifts on the porch, no one opened the door, just a text later. Thanks, but next time maybe just Venmo? Melissa had built a wall brick by digital brick, and Daniel stood on her side of it. Every like, every post, every silence pressed me further into shadow. The woman who once carved the turkey, who tied ribbons on presents, who stayed up till midnight wrapping bikes in the garage. I had become the ghost they used to credit but no longer named. Still, I wasn't finished. Isolation cuts deep, but it also clarifies. If they wanted me invisible, they were about to learn how dangerous an invisible woman can be. It wasn't long before the silence around me cracked in public. At the Christmas choir rehearsal, I overheard two altos whispering about Melissa's posts. Said Helen couldn't handle it anymore? She's better off resting. Funny, she looked fine last week. That was when I decided isolation wasn't enough. If they wanted me invisible, I would bring proof into the light. I started small. At the grocery store bulletin board, I pinned up a photo. Daniel at age 10 holding the Thanksgiving turkey we cooked together. Underneath, in my neat handwriting, some traditions don't vanish, some are erased. By evening, 3 neighbors had called me, but the real proof came when Janice, my neighbor with the dog, slipped me a flash drive. Melissa keeps bragging about her planning, Janice said, but I have something you should see. The drive contained screenshots, Melissa boasting in her private group about how she'd finally cut Helen out and how Daniel just needs training. Her own words, her own friends cheering her on. I printed every screenshot, slid them into a binder, and left it on the pew beside me at church potluck. I didn't have to say a word. The women flipped pages, mouths tightening, eyes widening. By the time dessert was served, the whispers had flipped direction. Not about me, about her. Melissa's bold, isn't she? One muttered. Cruel, more like, said another. Public opinion. The tide had turned. That Sunday afternoon, I walked past Melissa and Daniel in the parking lot. She wore a smile too wide, clutching the kids' hands like props. Daniel wouldn't meet my eyes. Behind them, Mrs. Peterson from the choir called out, loud enough for everyone. Shame what people will post about their own family. Melissa's smile faltered. I didn't have to raise my voice. The proof was speaking for me. Later that night, Melissa texted from a different number, clearly one she hadn't blocked me on yet. Why are you spreading lies? I replied with a photo of her own caption. Good thing Helen isn't here. She'd ruin the vibe. No commentary, just her words back to her. She didn't answer, but the next day I saw her Facebook shift tone. Suddenly posts about respecting elders and cherishing all generations, damage control. But the comment section had turned skeptical. Even her cousin wrote, "What about Helen? Isn't she part of the family?" The wall she built was starting to crumble and the cracks were public. Still, I knew this wasn't the end because public whispers sting, but money, that's where Melissa's mask would truly fall. The crack in Melissa's mask widened with one phone call. It was mid-December when Daniel showed up at my porch, shoulders hunched, voice hoarse. Mom, can we talk? I almost shut the door, but then I saw the panic in his eyes. Inside, he twisted his wedding ring nervously. Melissa maxed out the joint account, he blurted, and 2 credit cards, over $15,000. I didn't know until the bank called. I sat very still, letting the words settle like dust in the room. $15,000. and the ledger in my kitchen drawer still glaring at me with $52,300 written in ink from years of rescue. She said it was for the kids' presents, Daniel continued, his voice cracking. But then I saw the receipts: designer handbags, luxury makeup, a down payment on some vacation package. Melissa herself arrived 10 minutes later, cheeks flushed from cold and fury. "You had no right to involve her," she snapped at Daniel, ignoring me. "No right?" I said quietly. "I think using my address as collateral for your boutique shopping spree gave me every right." Her face drained of color. "How do you—" I slid the binder across the table. Screenshots, statements, copies Janice had helped me print. Her own words: convince Daniel to sell the house, use Helen's name to get sympathy, keep her quiet. Melissa clutched the pages, flipping faster and faster, then slammed it shut. "This is an ambush." "No," I said. "This is arithmetic." I tapped the number at the bottom of my ledger. $52,300. That's what I've spent on your emergencies. Rent, hospital co-pays, utility bills you never covered. Now Daniel tells me you've buried another 15 grand under credit cards. Do you see the sum, Melissa? Daniel buried his head in his hands. "She told me her uncle Alejandro was ready to invest in my business if Christmas looked perfect." Ah, there it was. The real scheme. Not just holidays, not just reputation. Melissa had engineered a showcase dinner to impress wealthy relatives into financing their future. And my labor, my cooking, my house, my name, was the scaffolding she needed. I leaned back, my voice calm but sharp. "So that's why I was erased, because the perfect photo album looks cleaner without the woman who knows the debts?" Melissa bristled, eyes wet. "You don't understand. Alejandro only gives when he sees family unity. If he finds out about the cards, we're finished. Daniel's business won't survive. We'll lose the new apartment." Daniel looked at me desperate. "Mom, please, just help us through Christmas. Pretend. After that, we'll fix it." Pretend. 5 years of servitude reduced to one more performance. But this time, I had no intention of playing servant. I stood, gathering the binder. "You've mistaken me for an ally in your fraud," I said. "I'm not." Melissa lunged, grabbing my wrist. "If you don't help, we'll be ruined." I pulled free, steady as stone. "Then maybe it's time your lies collapsed under their own weight." Behind her, Daniel whispered, "Melissa, did you really plan to sell Mom's house?" She turned, eyes wide, lips trembling, but said nothing. Silence louder than any confession. And in that silence, I knew the final blow was near. The truth didn't wait for Christmas morning. It came barreling in 3 days early in the form of headlights and suitcases on my driveway. Alejandro, Melissa's wealthy uncle, stepped out of a sleek rental car. Behind him came Valeria, the sister with a reputation for numbers. Melissa froze in the living room, face powdered but trembling. Daniel hovered like a boy caught stealing from the cookie jar. I watched from the corner, arms folded, binder heavy in my hands. "Alejandro," Melissa gushed, voice too bright. "You're early." His eyes scanned the undecorated hallway, the bare dining table. "This is the perfect Christmas?" he asked flatly. Valeria laid her coat on the sofa, eyeing the kitchen with disdain. "No food, no decorations, just excuses. Melissa, what exactly have you been telling us?" Melissa stammered. We had a setback. Helen, she refused to help. She sabotaged everything." That was my cue. I stepped forward, calm as steel. "I refuse to be your maid. That isn't sabotage, that's self-respect." Alejandro's brow furrowed. "Is that true?" I slid the binder onto the coffee table, pages fanning open like a courtroom file. Her shopping debt, the fake stories, using my house as collateral, it's all here. Melissa lunged, but Valeria snatched the binder first. She read aloud, voice sharp. "Convince Daniel to sell Helen's house. Use inheritance story as leverage." "Melissa, is this your handwriting?" Color drained from Melissa's face. Alejandro's jaw tightened. So the perfect Christmas was just bait for money, for me. Daniel spoke at last, voice cracking. "Is it true? Did you plan to sell Mom's house?" Melissa's silence was the answer. Alejandro turned to me. "Mrs. Helen, you've endured enough. Our family will not fund lies." Valeria added, "Nor cover debts that amount to fraud." Melissa's composure shattered. You don't understand. Daniel's business will collapse. We'll lose everything. I met her gaze, voice low but slicing clean. You erased me once, but this time I decide how the story ends. I lifted the ledger, the number $52,300 circled in red ink. 5 years of debt I carried for you. That ends tonight. You owe me repayment or you face legal consequences. Melissa's knees buckled. She sank onto the sofa. Daniel whispered, broken. Melissa, what have you done to us? Alejandro stepped closer, his voice like a verdict. What she's done is betray family trust, and what you must do, Daniel, is choose whether you stay blind or stand with truth. For the first time, my son looked directly at me, not as a burden, not as a maid, but as the mother who had carried him, carried his debts, and was finally done carrying lies. The room fell into silence, thick, heavy, decisive. The final blow had landed. After Alejandro and Valeria left, the house sat in silence. Melissa huddled on the sofa, mascara streaking down her cheeks. Daniel leaned against the wall, pale, hollow-eyed. I remained standing. I wanted no confusion about where I belonged. Mom, Daniel whispered, I didn't know. His voice cracked like a boy again. I should have seen it. I should have defended you. I studied him, my son, once so quick to hug me after school, now a man whose silence had cut deeper than Melissa's insults. Not knowing, I said softly, isn't the same as not looking. You looked away for years. He winced, but didn't argue. Melissa finally lifted her head. Helen, please, I was wrong. I lied. I panicked, but I can change. Just don't destroy us. Her words dripped desperation, not repentance. I set the ledger on the coffee table, tapped the circled number. $52,300. I carried you through every so-called emergency, and when I said no, you erased me. Melissa reached for my hand. Let me make it right. I pulled away. No, you'll make it honest. You'll repay every cent you borrowed under false pretenses, and you'll never again set foot in this house without my consent. Daniel's voice shook. And me? Do you want me gone too? That question sliced through the room. I looked at him, the son I'd once believed would always choose me. Daniel, I said, I don't want you gone. But I won't keep shrinking so you can avoid conflict. If you want a relationship with me, it must be built on respect. Not silence, not convenience. Respect. Tears filled his eyes. He nodded slowly. Melissa sobbed, clutching her knees. So this is it? You're cutting me out? I inhaled deeply. Forgiveness sat heavy on my tongue. I don't know if forgiveness is possible right now, I admitted. What I know is that boundaries are. You will face consequences. You will not hide behind my labor again. For the first time in years, I felt my spine straighten, not under weight, but under strength. Daniel whispered, I'll help pay her debt, even if it takes years. I met his eyes, steady. Then maybe one day forgiveness will come, but not today. The decision was made. I was not erasing them. I was reclaiming myself. Christmas morning dawned with a hush I hadn't felt in years. No frantic alarms, no lists taped to the fridge, no Melissa snapping orders from my kitchen, just the soft crackle of my fireplace and the smell of cinnamon rolls, bought for myself, baked for myself, eaten in peace. I sat at the table with a mug of coffee, my ledger beside me. Not as a record of debts anymore, but as a reminder. Every page proved the same truth. I had given until I was hollow, and still they wanted more. But today the giving ended. From my window, I could see cars jammed in Daniel's driveway down the block. Melissa's family had still come. I pictured the scene. No turkey, no china, no orchestrated perfection, just chaos. The lies finally exposed, the performance collapsing. And for once, none of it was mine to fix. My phone buzzed on the counter. 17 missed calls. 2 voicemails from Daniel, 1 from Melissa, even 1 from Valeria. I didn't listen. I slid the phone into a drawer because this day finally belonged to me. Instead, I opened the gift I'd wrapped the night before, a plane ticket to Arizona. My sister Joyce had begged me for years to visit. I always said no. Someone had to keep the traditions alive. Now I realized the tradition I needed was my own. The suitcase sat ready by the door, packed not with obligations but with freedom. I ran my hand along the handle and smiled. Before leaving, I lit one candle on the mantel, whispering a prayer not for Melissa or Daniel but for myself. May I never again confuse being useful with being loved. Outside, the air was crisp, clean. I locked the door, tucked the key in my pocket, and walked toward the waiting cab. For 3 decades, this house had been my sanctuary, then my prison. Today, it was simply my home, still mine, still protected, still standing. And so was I. As the cab pulled away, I didn't look back. Some stories end with reconciliation, others with regret. Mine ended with a choice. I chose peace over servitude. I chose dignity over silence. I chose me. What would you do? Drop your story and subscribe Revenge Stories U60 USA.